In January of 1776, a pamphlet was published by a recent British immigrant to America named Thomas Paine. His pamphlet, Common Sense, strongly argued for independence, which until then was really still considered a radical idea. He encouraged the colonies to break all political ties with the British monarchy and to become an independent nation. He insisted that it went against the natural order of things for a small island to rule a large continent. It also went against natural law for people to pledge allegiance to a king whose government was corrupt and unreasonable. His writings, having been profoundly influenced by the Enlightenment, would in turn have a profound influence on members of the Second Continental Congress, as well as the public, and would eventually help to sway public opinion towards independence, as tens of thousands of copies were sold across the colonies. The Second Continental Congress itself had discussed for some time, by the spring and early summer of 1776, the possibility of declaring independence. But it wasn't until Richard Henry Lee of Virginia introduced a resolution on June 7, 1776, that would declare the colonies independent, that the Second Continental Congress truly began to discuss the issue formally. 5 delegates, including a young aristocrat from Virginia named Thomas Jefferson, would form a committee to write up a statement in support of Lee's resolution. As the youngest member of the committee, his was the task of actually writing the statement, and he listed specific grievances against George III's government, and specifically against George III himself, as by now the colonists realize how much the king had control over Parliament rather than the other way around. This statement also included the basic principles of enlightened thought that justified having a revolution in the first place. On July 2, 1776, the Second Continental Congress adopted Lee's resolution, and they approved that statement, the Declaration of Independence, on the early morning of July 4th, 1776. There is a wonderful video that was put forth by the Declaration of Independence road trip, and I will provide the link for you in the description box of this video. I strongly recommend you watch it, especially the introduction. For the men who signed their names to the document, they knew that they were committing an act of treason. Supposedly Benjamin Franklin, as he stepped forward to sign, was reported as saying, "We must all hang together, for if we lose, we shall assuredly all hang separately." Because, of course, treason was a crime punishable by death. John Hancock, the king of smugglers, elected as president of this Second Continental Congress, would be the first to sign. And this document would then be delivered to all of the colonies, read to assembled crowds, and a copy was even delivered to Parliament. Because what they were trying to do was not to just justify to themselves what they were doing, but to justify their actions to the rest of the world.